Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. And today we're going to be looking into this album's 30th anniversary, and it's from one of the most, in my opinion, the most underrated bands in death metal or for the UK death metal scene. And as you can see below the title, today we're going to be looking into Warmaster by Bolt Thrower, the band's third album, which was released in February of 1991 through Earache Records. Now, Bolt Thrower doesn't really need an introduction if you're a fan of death metal. Death metal band hailing all the way from England. They formed in 1986, and this was the band's third album. And for me, Bolt Thrower kind of has kind of like our death metal, but they also have a little bit of like grindcore influences. In fact, their first two albums, being In Battle There Is No Law and Realm of Chaos, has a little bit more of the kind of like grindcore stuff in there, pretty much based on like the blasts and just the riffs and stuff. But with Warmaster, I feel like this is kind of like a evolution in the Bolt Thrower sound. I feel like this album kind of like changes up their style a little bit, while it's still just heavy as fuck and just punches you in the face. I feel like this album kind of like abandons sort of like the grindcore influences on the first two records, but this is just more of a strictly kind of like death metal album. And more also, so there's a lot bit more melody and musically in terms of like the guitar solos, and although it's sort of like the chaotic solos from there as well. uh let's just dive right into this. Like let's just talk about the vocals. Like Carl Willett's vocals, he just sounds really just brutal and just fucking growls and just, yeah, it's just really heavy. And just the guitar work is heavy from Gavin Ward and Barry Thompson, and just the guitar tone is just freaking beefy and just crunchy. The the bass from Joe Bench, I kind of was pretty much up there. And drumming wise, Andrew Wales' drumming is up pretty superb. It just comes up with some really sick beats. And this is also, forgot to mention, that the last album to feature blast beat style of drumming. Before it's like abandoned just completely, which is kind of a shame because his blasting is awesome, but it doesn't really necessarily need to be part of metal drumming. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is Intro, Unleashed Upon Mankind, which kind of like slowly kind of like gets you in the groove of the album. It just fades in, and then just a sick kind of like breakdown hits, and just Carl's growls on here are really just insane, just really just terrorizing in a scary way. And the way he sort of slowly growls is just, gives you goosebumps every time. And after that, you kind of like get to a kind of like a slammy kind of like breakdown with sort of like some great drumming followed by a great guitar solo. And I think it's a pretty good way to start off this album. And then we move on to What Dwells Within. Now, this song kind of like features some more faster drumming, and this is also some great blast beats and great guitars. Whereas in my opinion, is one of the most fastest songs that Bolt Thrower has ever played. The Shreds of Sanity is the next song. Fucking sick song. I love it. Profane Creation. Now, this is the longest song on the album, and this is pretty much how slow the music is. And I find the length of the song to give it a lot bit more of a substance and depth to it. And it progresses, it actually takes into more of like the shredding kind of like heaviness and just the insane domination it has. And as the second chorus goes in, it just shows how evil this song is just becoming. And the final words is just Carl just growling mankind is just fucking crazy. Moving on to Destructive Infinity. Now, this song is another kind of like groovy sounding track, which just some great catchy riffs, especially within the chorus, and the drums are really great. And I just clearly, as as we're now in the gotten through the first half of the song, it's just presents more bass, kind of like a slower paced music. With the second half, I feel like it just presents more of like guitar riffs and just great blast beats, which we'll get into, starting with the second half of the album, with track 6 being A Final Revelation. Now, this song kind of like focuses on a really good fast groove, kind of like similar to What Dwells Within. However, I feel like Andrew Whale, their drummer at the time, has like the drums really just stick out for this particular track. Cenotaph, which kind of like fades in with the same kind of like riff, as also is a continuation from their other song World Eater from the previous album Cenotaph, which is kind of interesting. It just fades right in in with this kind of like that same kind of riff, but it's just only sounding a little bit different, and it also has a little bit of a new tuning to it. And it starts off really fast, and then it just drops into like a kind of like a slow kind of like doomy kind of mode with just some pounding drums, which kind of sounds like very war effect, which actually just it really just adds a lot to the song. It just ends the same riff, and it just continues this. I feel like the band just continues this song for a couple albums later on. Next up is the title track of the album, Warmaster. Now, this song is just pretty explosive right from the get-go. It has blast beats and has a nice touch of like groove to it. It's just a very pumping song, and the guitars on this song is just very demolishing as well. Next song on the album is Rebirth of Humanity. Now, this, in my opinion, is probably my favorite Bolt Thrower song on the album when it just comes to like the melodies and the guitars just going hand in hand with each other. Gary, Vin, and Barry just nail it for sure. And I just really love Carl's angry growls on this too. And then the album concludes with the song Afterlife, and this song kind of like speaks for itself, though I kind of feel like it's kind of similar to Profane Creation, only just much brutal and more faster than Profane Creation. Now, overall, Warmaster by Bolt Thrower is another good album, and I feel like this is, I love how they kind of like changed up their style a little bit while still being a death metal band. So if I were to give this album a score, I'm going to give Warmaster by Bolt Thrower a 9.5 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the Warmaster by Bolt Thrower, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the album, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.